It came from...
This is the part of the show where we search all over the internet to bring you topics the community is talking about. If you find these answers useful, give us a like wherever you're at to help other people find this content. All right, let's get into the last one here. So this is trying to figure out what companies, human resources, are doing to keep their workplace happy and motivated towards work. This is by Abi Tam on the user experience subreddit. They go on to write, looking for ideas that can motivate employees and make them more productive. What kinds of things can human resources do to keep workplaces healthy? Now, in current situation, most of the people work remotely, and it's really difficult to keep them connected towards the company's goal. Most of the people are overworked and exhausted. How can we de-stress them so they feel fresh? This is more of like an HR question and a company morale question, but it's important to know, especially if you work on a smaller team of like a researcher with designers and product managers, developers. There's different levels of team morale. And I thought, we thought this was a good question to answer. So Barry, from a smaller perspective and a company perspective, how do you improve morale?
So given where we're at the moment with the pandemic, remote working is going to be a thing. In fact, I've just had a thing come through right now saying that we might be heading back into a lockdown into the new year or something akin to a lockdown in the new year. So I'm looking forward to that. So the first thing I always start off with is making sure that that your team has got what they need. Have they got, and we did it right at the start of the pandemic when it kicked off, but do you have the right tools to do the job? So you're not working off an ironing board. Right? Do you have a desk? Do you have your laptop? Do you have the right sort of screen? So basically the fundamental good ergonomics of office working, because we've seen so many people now are starting to get them sort of injuries, them RSI injuries from suboptimal use. Then we've got to, certainly one thing I've been quite passionate about is almost transferring the things that you would do in the office that are not work focused, but really, I still think quite key into having the team coming together. And that is the equivalent of going to have a cup of coffee as a team and having that general chat. So I'll try and kick off in the morning, say a couple of times a week with a Zoom or a Teams or whatever you're using. Just to be able to sort of say, what you're doing today, what did you go to last night? How was the new Spider-Man movie that came out yesterday? And
No spoilers. No spoilers.
I'm good to see it, but apparently they said it was really good. And so you've got to have that level of relationship, which we've forgotten. I think many people have forgotten through the lockdown that we're so focused on, if you're going on a Teams meeting or a Zoom meeting, that you can have a Zoom meeting from 9 o'clock till 10 o'clock, then you can have one from 10 o'clock till 10:30, then another one from 10:30 to 11, and you don't have any gap between them. You don't have that walking between meeting room and that type of thing. So it's about allowing people that sense of respite in between the meetings that you would usually have. And then there's that other side of the social interaction. So I think everybody's got a bit good at Zoom quizzes. So bringing your team together in the evening as if you go down to the pub after work and that type of thing. So trying to recreate that capacity. And notice none of that of what I've said is actually connecting you towards company goals. That's all about making sure that your employees feel connected, that they feel part of them teaming behaviors that you would naturally use in the office, or if you work for half decent companies, you do. I have worked with one who tried to stop us from doing that, and that didn't go well. But them human behaviors, as long the best we can recreate them and make people feel like they're valued in that way, then you're on a really good bedding to be able to go and then empower them to do their job right in the first place. So what about you, Nick? What's your experiences with this? What do you think?
Yeah, great points. I do want to touch on the point that you made about making time for others. So with meetings, what I've done is I've tried to build into most meetings just like, 5-10 minutes of camaraderie building. So it's not listed as such, but when I design meetings length, I am taking that into consideration. It is that, hey, how are you? How are things going? You just had a kid. How's that going? Like, that type of thing. And so making sure that you have time for that is really important. I would say there are a couple different ways to look at this type of question. There's, what do you do for new employees, new hires, to make them integrate with a team? Or what do you do for current employees that maybe there's some rationale or uh, there's some problems with morale, and so there's these questions that we need to answer. So let's take a look at the new hire. Right, you pay them accordingly, pay them well. You give them, like you said, everything that they need, and you invest in their time. So what I mean by that is, understand that, especially in a remote environment, if you're starting somebody up fresh in a remote environment, there are going to be huge roadblocks for that person, and you need to not only anticipate them, but solve for them. So, for example, let's say there's a new person that's starting and you know they have a certain role within a company. You want to outline kind of like, hey, here as a manager, you might want to come to the table and say, hey, here's a list of like 10 people that you're going to want to talk to in the first 4 weeks. And, here's what each of them do. Come to them with kind of a roadmap of what they can expect for the first month and a half. That way, there's a plan in place and they're not kind of sitting around twiddling their thumbs going, I don't know what to do. I just started at this company. It's not like I can go anywhere. No one's stopping by my office and telling me anything. I don't know what's going on. They have a plan in place and they can address it at their own leisure. Give them kind of a laundry list of documentation to read on their free time. And that's boring, but then the, actual human connections, those are important. And again, make sure that when they are having those connections, that they build in time to really get to know that other person. Do an informal introduction. Hey, I'm so-and-so. This is what I'm about. Okay, that's the new hire side. Now let's get into the team is together and morale is low and we need to do something to fix it. From an HR perspective, from a company perspective, I think it's really important for a company to have a roadmap of improvements that are listed for employees and have certain conditions be met to get those, right? Like, let's say you have a certain amount of surplus, you might want to give them all an extra day off a month, or if just as like a wellness day or something. If you have the means to, you give them the PTO that they need, basically increasing their benefits without sort of costing the company a lot of money. Or maybe it does cost the company a lot of money, but that return on investment is great because then you have employees that are well refreshed, they're not burnt out, that type of thing. But having a roadmap and having those continuous engagement events to kind of build company morale are really important, especially when you have larger companies. And so that's my opinion on that. I don't know if you had anything else to add.
No, I think we both covered all aspects of that pretty well. It's just, for me, it's fundamentally just remember that your employees are people. Treat them as such, engage with them, and remember what it was like when you were at that level. And we need to make sure that we keep people engaged.
But what if I inherited the company from my father and
Well, then
I never was at that level?
Go and spend the millions, and let the people who know what they're doing run the business.